So I want to give you 3 examples of areas that impact all of us throughout our entire lives: education, talent, and government. Let's start with education. If you look at the top 50 metropolitan areas in America and African American boys, only 50% of them graduate from high school. It's actually much worse than that. If you're in Detroit, only about 20% graduate. And if you don't graduate, you're 8 times more likely to go to jail. You know, if an enemy did this to us, we'd go to war with them. And we're doing it to ourselves. Isn't that amazing? If somebody did this to us, we would never forgive them. We just accept it. Now, fortunately, we're in America. And at the base of America, the genius of America is the base of America. And we're seeing innovations that will impact education now all over the place. You know about KIPP schools, Knowledge is Power program. So inner city programs where they go to school longer hours, very fundamental, and they have a 95% graduation rate. And by the way, their kids get through college 4 times higher percentage compared to equivalent schools in those inner city areas. The Khan Academy, that's an online set of videos that teach science and education, become very, very effective and powerful. I'm having a big impact, and I could give you, example after example like this. I want to share with you one program that we're doing that we're excited about too. We think will make a major contribution. You know, when you think about the best teachers you had, they weren't just one-trick ponies, right? They could talk with you in many different ways. In fact, the best teachers do that. They teach in more than one way. So we work to develop a curriculum that would do that. So we teach by telling stories, equations, graphs, and numerics. And in the middle there, whenever they do an exercise, you push a button, and there's a motion example to illustrate it. We call our program Cornerstone Math, and it's based on many years of work on a program called SimCalc. And the screen will look like this. So those lines basically represent different rates down the fishbowl in this case. And the kids have to solve some problems and say which one's going to get there first and what the speed will be and blah, blah, blah. And then when they get their answers down, then they push the button and they get to see the fish swim down. So they immediately get to see the answer. Now, slope is actually a big idea. Slope is hard for kids to get. Particularly, these are relatively easy lines, but when you get lines that look like this, now if you don't get through algebra today, you can't be an auto mechanic because you can't read a graph. And those kids in Detroit who didn't get through algebra, they can't be auto mechanics. I read the other day that we've got almost 2 million jobs that are going begging because we don't have the right people to do the work. So here's the results we've gotten. We've done a big study in Texas, a $6 million study for the National Science Foundation, and we did a second study in Florida. A very wide range of demographics, every kind of combination of kids, boys and girls, poor, rich, you could imagine. Now, I want you to pay attention to 3 things on this chart. The first thing is those white bars. Each bar represents a classroom. It's an individual teacher. And the vertical axis where it says gain, total gain, what that is we gave the kids a 30-question test before, then they went through the course, and they got another 30-question test. And so the difference between those two is what's plotted on the vertical axis. And we did that with a control group just to see what normal classes are like. Now look at those white bars. Look where they are. More than half the teachers are teaching no algebra. None. Some of the scores are negative. Now that may be statistics, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of kids come out of those classes more confused than they went in, and angry, by the way. Now you'll see some white bars up on the the far right-hand side, those are those special teachers that we had who changed our lives, who really know what they're doing. But you'll see there are very few of those bars. They don't scale. We're never going to have enough of those. So we have to have a solution that does something else. So in our curriculum, you can see that's in the blue and the orange bars. You can see that we still had some teachers who didn't do very good, but none of them were really, off the scale bad. And you'll see that most of the results are now up with the genius teachers. We're not replacing teachers, we're giving them a tool to be more effective with their kids. We're excited about this because not only does it work, it's accepted by the unions. And if it wasn't accepted by the unions, it would be almost impossible. And obviously it scales. Why do the unions like it? We're not taking their teachers away, we're giving them a tool, like a computer, for professionals like us, to make them more effective. So we're very excited about this, and we're working really hard to keep developing this with our partners and coming out with a multiple-year curriculum based on these ideas. I want to switch a little bit and go back to the innovation theme. And in the agrarian economy, we taught things like animal husbandry. In the industrial economy, things like drafting. In the knowledge economy, programming. Well, we're in the innovation economy, so why aren't we teaching innovation and value creation? I think we should. Now, think about this for a second. What's the purpose of an engineering education? New knowledge, of course, but to create things that are useful to society, right? That's why you become an engineer. Innovation. Engineers are innovations. How about math, biology, chemistry, and physics? Some become professors and they produce new knowledge, but most of us, I was a physics major, most of us become innovators. Economics and business? Oh, by definition, innovation, right? New value. How about art, media, and architecture? Well, yeah, of course. What's the purpose if you're not doing that? Social sciences, psychology? Yeah, that too. Political science? It ought to be, but it's not. In fact, if you ask a group of professors to define innovation, 95% will get it wrong. They don't think it applies to them. They're totally confused about what they're doing in the world we're in. And we have to change that. Now, the world is beginning to notice this. I gave a talk a couple years ago at Case Western University in Cleveland. I was talk to an audience about this size of university folks and students. And after my talk, I was surrounded by about 18 young Indian students. And they couldn't get enough. I was there for an hour talking to them. They're just sponges for, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? At the end, I said, do you folks all know each other in India? And they said, no, we're from all over India. Well, how'd you find Case Western? He said, oh, that's simple. We know that a PhD in computer science isn't enough today. And Case Western has a program in innovation and entrepreneurship. And we found it on the web. And we came from India to Case Western through that route. Kids in India know. Why do they know? The world's seamless now, right? They read everything we read. They know what's going on. And they're hungry for it, and they're adapting to it. What does it mean? What's innovation in the curriculum? Well, it means you teach core innovation concepts. I mentioned several. You do multidisciplinary projects, and hopefully you have a global perspective to it. That's kind of the ideal, those three ingredients. My undergraduate school, Worcester Polytech, has such a program. All 4 years the kids do projects, and they don't send them to bistros in Paris to sip coffee. They send them to the inner parts of China and India. This is Cape Town, to solve problems. In this case, to help with water reuse in the community. Now, I'll tell you, when these kids come back from this, just being thrown down there with nothing, right? No resources, nothing. They've been trained, but when they come back, the experience is just profound. And the level of excitement they exude is just wonderful. Finland usually number 1 or 2 in math and science, high school math and science, doesn't produce innovators. So they said, well, what can we do? Well, they said, let's form the world's first innovation university called Aalto. Aalto was a famous Finnish designer. And it has a 4-year curriculum too, with projects based on different innovation themes where they learn all the things we mentioned. And I like this, I cribbed this. The goal is to educate the world's best product designers. I love that, best. If you're not aspiring to be the best today, and somebody else does, they're eventually going to catch up with you. We need to get back to being best in what we do. Stanford has a great program too by Professor Kelly over there, called the D.school. It's again based on a design theme to create future innovators. That napkin is off his website. Design thinking, radical collaboration, big projects. And again, the goal is create the best design school, period. The best. Now here's another example that I love. How many of you sent your daughters to the girls' middle school? Anybody here? Ah, good. Well, I love this place. I learned about it. I learned that in the 7th grade, it's all girls. It's a serious school, serious math, science, computer science, language. At the time, shop. Well, it turns out in the 7th grade, they take a 2-day boot camp to learn how to form a company. They then write a business plan. They get the auditorium over at Google. These young girls in teams of 4 or 5 stand up and pitch to a panel of Silicon Valley venture capitalists. They get funded, $100. They have people like us as their board members, really mentors. And they have to produce a board book, and they learn return on investment, and some of them even learn net present value. Who learned net present value here in the 7th grade? Anybody? I sure didn't. Well, there they are in shop. They're building some stuff, again, back in the shop. Here they are manning their booths during one of their events. And I was curious about these young women and what this had done for them. So I went over there at the end of the school year, and I interviewed them. And I had the funniest conversations. They went a little bit like this. Sally, how'd this go for you? Well, Dr. Carlson, I don't know. Have you ever noticed that putting a team together is really hard work? Have you noticed? Yeah, I've noticed that. Well, Dr. Carlson, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it turned out we all wanted to do different things. I'm good at talking, so I became the vice president of sales. And Susie is really good at math, so she became our chief financial officer. And Alice is really good at creative things, so she became our head of marketing. And Dr. Carlson, I don't know if you've noticed this. Even though this was a lot of work, it was a lot of fun. Have you ever noticed that? Bingo. Bingo. Don't you wish you had that experience in the 7th grade? In fact, what I'd like to see is have us go from kindergarten through college and graduate school, all the way through. Why not? Have them doing projects of different kinds all the way through. Can you imagine what those young people would be like? We'd be producing the kind of workforce, the human talent we need to thrive in the innovation economy. They wouldn't be afraid of it. They'd understand it. They'd understand how to do it. They'd want to do it. How many entrepreneurs would we unleash by having a program like that? Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. Because we'd be showing them that they can do it. And we'd be giving them the skills so they can do it.